So here's the thing about breakups. They suck. They make you feel like you have no power, especially if you're the dumpee. Now, I say in many of my videos that the dumper also goes through their version of pain, but on a different time scale and on a completely different level. So I guess this is more for the dumpies than it is the dumpers as usual. So I want to get into 5 steps to get your power back after a breakup. And it may be a little bit difficult to hear because if you are a regular listener to my channel, you know that I don't bullshit and I will just tell people how it is. I'm not saying that I am the best coach out there, or I don't even consider myself a coach. In reality, I just listen and I tell you what I think. But I'll definitely say I'm one of the most straightforward, and I'll just tell it how it is out there. So stay tuned and let's get into the 5 steps to get your ex back after a breakup. And with that said, welcome back to the Love Fix. It's Nick, as always, doing my best to get you through your breakups as healthily and as easily as possible with compassion, but without the bullshit. And if today's video is not enough for you, you can reach out to me at thelovefix20@gmail.com for a one-to-one coaching session so you can get back onto the road to recovery. So, without further ado, step 1 is acceptance and patience. Now, I'm often criticised for being maybe overly simplistic with my advice and being very direct. And the fact is, guys, you have to accept the situation for what it is. And on so many occasions, people will say to me, Nick, what does this mean? Why did they leave? Is there any hidden meaning behind it? Why did they break up with me? And the fact is, guys, the reason they broke up with you is that they do not want to be with you romantically anymore. There is no other hidden meaning or anything else behind that, regardless of what they say and your interpretations of their words and the current situation and the reality. The reality is, the cold, harsh reality is that they do not want to be your partner any longer. That does not make them a bad person. It does not make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It might mean that you no longer align with them, and because of that, you're no longer suitable for their requirements as a partner. But it doesn't mean you're any less or devalued. So, whilst that is the acceptance part, there's also a patient component to that, and it's that it's going to take time. It's going to take a long time. It's going to suck. It's going to be painful. And it's a case of do not deny your feelings. You have to accept, okay, I feel shit right now and that's okay. But I will be okay. So a lot of people try to skip this step. A lot of people try to skip acceptance, and a lot of people try to skip through not feeling the pain. But the fact is, you need to feel the pain, because our pain is the best teacher, and it will help us get through this very bad time. Because when you do get through it and you find someone new, you'll be thankful for this. You'll be thankful for the time that you spent dealing with your emotions. Step 2 for getting your power back: the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And guys, if you haven't read that book or listened to that book, go and read it. So, the subtle art of not giving a fuck, or rather, let's rephrase it to the subtle art of where you should give a fuck. So, the person who has the power in a breakup, or in a relationship for that matter, is the person that cares less. In other words, the person who chooses where they give a fuck. Now, it's not to say that you don't care about your ex and you don't care about them as a person. No, if you was in love with that person, you will probably always care for them in one way or another. But when it comes to not giving a fuck, it's more about, okay, I'm going to choose to give a fuck more about myself than I am this breakup, or how they broke up with me, or what they said, and how I feel right now. That's what it's about. So if you can get into a situation of where you can teach yourself to say, right, I am enough. I've got an attitude of abundance, not scarcity. There are other people out there that I can go and date. And guys, I've said a million times, almost 8 billion people out there. You'll find somebody new. So You're going to be fine. But you have to choose to be okay. You have to choose to say, I'm taking this power back. You have to choose to say, in your head, I accept my ex's decision. And if you can do that, I promise you, you'll find that the world will change for you. Professionally, emotionally, financially. Because if you look at all of the most successful people out there, they choose where to give a fuck. So, in other words, lions do not concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. Do not concern yourself with the opinion of what your ex has done, what they said, and what they are doing. Get into that phase of, I'll be okay with or without you. You're either with me or you're not. And if you're not, take care, bye-bye, have a nice life. Step 3 is you get to decide what happens today. That means accepting you control nobody but yourself. You have no control over your ex. And that, my friends, is everybody's superhuman power, is that you get to decide how you respond to your feelings. And I appreciate that may sound easier said than done, and quite frankly it is, but it is a skill that nonetheless that you need to learn, because once you accept that any breakup can end at any time by anyone for any reason, you start to live in a different way. You start to not take things for granted, and it's very easy for us to get into that comfortable glove situation with our partners that they will never leave me, they love me unconditionally. And I've got news for you, there's no such thing as unconditional love, unless it's unconditional love for yourself and maybe your kids. There's no such thing. Your partner got with you under the conditions that suited them at that time. That's conditional. That is a conditional love. And now maybe you're no longer fulfilling those conditions, or maybe their conditions have changed and you've not been able to adapt to those, or maybe you just wasn't compatible from the start. Whatever it is, the fact is, going back to step number 1, acceptance, they are no longer here. So it's okay to feel bad, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling right now, but it's not okay to stay there for too long. It's not okay to respond badly to that. That's where I have to keep people accountable and say, right, no, you have the power. You have the choice to say, right, I'm going to act maturely. I'm not going to blow up their phone. I'm not going to try and compete with anybody else that they may be seeing. I'm not going to leave passive aggressive messages on Facebook and stuff like that. I'm going to respond maturely. I'm going to do no contact, and I will just quietly disappear into the background. And one thing I've said to people before, and I've said this on videos before, you throw me to the wolves, I will return leading the pack. And that's the mindset that I want you guys to have. If you get thrown to the wolves, become the leader of the wolves and return leading the pack. Return bigger, badder, stronger, more mature, more put together. Yeah, better clothes, better physique. Work on your business, work on your career. The breakup is an opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to shed a skin, break out of the cocoon, level up, whatever you want to call it. They've just given you a wonderful gift. Do not waste it. Step 4 is all about learning to move on. And what I say now may be a little bit triggering, but as I said in step number 2, I don't give a fuck. No one's forcing you to listen to this, quite frankly, but I hope you do take the message, and it comes from a place of understanding, care and love. So, suck it up, princesses. It's time to move on. And that means accepting reality. Again, going back to step number 1. It's all based on that. Now, I don't mean to sound harsh, and I'm not trying to diminish how you feel. It's okay. You feel bad right now. You're meant to. It's okay. And it's going to hurt for a long time. And I would say, and I'm going to go against a lot of the advice that is out there. A lot of people say, oh, give it 3 months, 6 months, and you'll be fine, and, you can start dating again. I'm going to say to you, give it at least a year. And especially if you've been in a long-term relationship. Because when we are in relationships, our sense of self does diminish somewhat. And You get into routines, you get into patterns, you start doing a lot more with your partner, which is okay, which you are meant to do. That's fine. You are meant to do that. But to do that, we have to compromise on certain things. Maybe we don't see our friends as much as we normally would. We don't indulge in our hobbies as much as we normally would. So now all of a sudden that routine is gone. They're no longer there. There's a quite a substantial hole where they used to be. So again, accepting the situation so you can move on. I hear on so many occasions things like, oh, maybe they'll reach out. I've still got hope. Hope is a dangerous thing in breakups, and I try to tell people, don't have hope when it comes to breakups, especially if you're the dumpee, because it keeps you in the breakup phase or the early phases of a breakup way longer than that needs to happen. And I'm guilty of that. Everything I'm saying to you here, guys, I am guilty of not doing this. This is stuff that I've had to learn to be okay with myself and to have better relationships that's based on honest communication, boundaries, expectations, and communicating that effectively, which sounds counterintuitive, but ultimately that leads to far better relationships and friendships in your life, because you're just telling people, hey, this is me. I don't give a fuck. If you want to be in my life, great. If not, there's the door. Out. Off you fucking fuck. So this is where you need to realign this attitude. And I'm not saying you should be nasty to your ex. I'm not trying to say this to turn you into a tyrant or anything like that. And if they do reach out to you, be polite, be courteous, say, hey, how are you? What's been happening? If they say that to you, match their level. And it's okay. But right now, they've built you up to be the monster. They've built you up to be the enemy, because they've had to do that to have the courage to dump you. So you can respond in kind. You can say, all right, cool. You want to treat me like the monster? Fine. This monster is disappearing, and you will not see this monster. And that's your monster of not, how can I put it? Your response to the breakup is to say, right, okay, you want to leave? Fine. But that's it. There is no emotional connection anymore. There are no relationship privileges. There is no friendship privileges. You do not have access to me in any way, shape or form until I can get to a point where I'm okay to be around you on a friendship level. It doesn't feel weird and I no longer have feelings for you. That's where you need to be. Step 5 is knowing, not thinking, knowing that your ex just wasn't that great. I hear so many times people say to me, my ex was one in a million. Your ex was one of a million, not in a million. Because what is great to you and what is unique to you and special to you is average to somebody else. And I've seen friends throughout my life get in with people and I'm like, really? You're dating that person? That just doesn't make sense to me. And they've probably said the same to me. And once you can understand that, once you can take your ex down from the pedestal and really just pick their faults apart, because right now you've got rose-tinted goggles on, you've got fade and effect bias, you're remembering all the good times, and you're not remembering any of the bad shit that they did or said to you. Now, I dug out a list from 2 years ago of what my ideal woman would be and everything bad that my ex did and said to me. Now, I'm not going to read you the ideal part of it. I'm going to read you what I wrote about my ex, and I could not give a fuck if she's listening to this. That book's closed. Don't care. Right. So, what I did after that, I compared the two lists. What my ideal woman compared to all the shit that my ex said. And it's like, okay, why the hell would I want list number 2 when I can have list number 1, which is my ideal woman? So, here are the things that I wrote down, and this is what I'm encouraging you to do right now, to realise that your ex isn't that great. So here we go. Control freak, OCD with cleaning, avoidant and shuts down when having discussions, wouldn't acknowledge that their words and actions were sometimes painful, always gave up too easily, not academically very smart, no compromise with her daughter, poor communicator, emotionally immature in places, financially unstable, no career prospects, passive aggressive, ended the relationship in a cowardly way, tried to take my TV through the breakup, and that's the only thing I wanted from the breakup, and not all of the other furniture that I bought. Initiated the breakup over text. Never fully trusted me with her daughter, even though I was the father for almost 4 years. So, write that list. And that list may be triggering for you, because we get angry at ourselves that we didn't see that. And I kind of just got a little bit heated whilst saying that, because it's like, why the fuck didn't I see that? Why didn't I notice these things when they were happening? And hindsight's 2020. And also, when we're in that situation, when we're all loved up, we don't see it, or we don't want to see it. So awareness is also a big component of taking your power back. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to feel better instantly, but when you are feeling down, when you are feeling shit, when you are stuck in on the weekend on a Saturday night, and all you want to do is hear their voice, or you want to hold them, or you want to call them, refer back to this list. Just remember all the shit that they put you through. And just remember, they could have gone to relationship counselling with you, but they've chose the monkey branch, Rebound. They chose to walk away because that was the easier solution. They chose to walk away because, quite frankly, they have no idea what love means. And after a while, once all the feel-good physical chemicals have worn off, once our brains normalise that, love is no longer a feeling, it's more of a commitment that we're going to work on this together until the end of time. That's what true love is that anyone can do a relationship in the first 3 to 12 months. Anyone can do that. Any man and their dog can do that. I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed by the couple that's been together 30 years and worked through all of their problems, because, guys, no matter how great you think your partners might be, or your future partners, shit will come up. And even with my girlfriend now, and we've only been dating 2 months, we've had to have a few discussions here and there about boundaries, expectations, logistics, these kind of things. Keeping each other accountable. Now, there's no shouting or screaming. It's just like, hey, you're violating boundaries here. Please don't do it. And because we're two rational adults and we can have a conversation without getting butter, all that happens after that is just the relationship gets better, and it gets better, and it gets better. So it's very important that you have these conversations very, very early on in the relationship. And don't let the honeymoon period mask what's lying underneath, because, guys, that will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know it, the foundations of your relationship are so rotten it is beyond repair. And that is the cold hard reality of relationships, and it's the cold hard reality of taking your power back. Now, I do appreciate that maybe this was difficult to hear, but I'm never going to lie to you guys. I'm always here to support you. I'll always be on your side. And anytime I have a one-to-one coaching session, I'm always on the side of my client or clients. Always on their side. And I will always validate them, and I will always support them. But I will also compassionately call them out on their bullshit. And you'll see this. I'm going to be uploading more coaching sessions over the next couple of weeks. You'll see how the coaching works and what I do. And I hope it helps. But anyway, I've gone on for far too long today. That's it for me. Guys, keep your chin up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the channel. I do appreciate it. Without you, I cannot do this. You're going to be okay. You are enough. I'll see you on the other side.